Hey everybody, this is HD. Welcome back. It is time for the second daily ladder of today. As I said before, I did miss out on Wednesday and Thursday, or Thursday and Friday, and it's currently Saturday. So I thought I'd go ahead and do two today, and of course the pro games that I'll be doing this weekend. Now this is going to be a Zerg versus Zerg, and actually this one was a pretty darn interesting one. I think it was, at least. So all you Zerg maniacs out there, make sure to stay tuned, and all you Protoss and Terran guys, you guys can tune out if you want. I won't hate you. You guys just won't get the delicious, awesome ZVZ battle that is about to happen right here. As you guys can see, I am the red Zerg at the bottom left-hand corner. As always, my daily ladder videos are kind of tailored to teach all you guys out there that are, I would say, low diamond to copper or whatever. I don't know what division is the lowest division. I know it's copper or bronze. It's one of those. So for all you guys out there who are in those divisions, these daily ladders obviously tailored to help you guys out to understand the gameplay from a more of a first-person perspective. And this is of course myself playing, and this is on my main account, HD Gamer, which is in the Masters League currently. So this is going to be a ZVZ. The map, as you guys can see, is Steppes of War, which is a very, very close map spawn. This is the closest map spawn you can possibly get. And when I say closest map spawn, I mean that your opponent and you spawn literally about one base from each other. If you guys look, there's the main, there's the natural, and then the center is about the size of one, maybe 1.5 bases, and then the natural and the main of your opponent. So it's very, very close to your opponent. And on this map, typically in a ZVZ, I don't like going for 14 pool. I prefer going for 13 pool. And the reason for that is because if your opponent tries to do something cheesy, like a 6 pool, like a 7 pool, pull all drones, spine crawler in your main, you need to have at least, at the very minimum, a 13 pool in order to survive that. And when I say 13, I mean the number, the supply count at the top right hand corner of the screen. When you have 13 drones, that's when you throw down your spawning pool. So lo and behold, I did scout early on. I pulled my drone off really soon, and I see that my opponent is doing something fishy here. He's got early speed and early gas and pull down, which basically means he's gone for early speed. He's gonna try to bum rush me with his Zerglings, and so I realize right now, okay, something fishy about to happen here. So what can you do in this situation? Obviously, first you need to throw up your defense, but at the same time, since I've got my scouting drone in my opponent's main, let's be a little sneaky. Let's throw a spine crawler in his main as well. And if he doesn't catch that, then I'll be able to do some damage to him while his Zerglings are attacking me. And if he does catch it, hey, it hurts his mining time a little bit, right? So looks like he's also thinking about the same thing, but his Zerglings are already flooding into my base, and obviously I have to defend against this. The nice thing though is I do have a spine crawler coming up, and this was because I scouted the early pull and early Zerglings. And so all I have to do is really defend this spine crawler. As long as the spine crawler remains alive, I should be just fine and dandy. And all I have to do right now is just buy time, just wait. I don't really need to engage. I can obviously attack the Lings a little bit to keep them off my spawning pool, which is nice to do. You don't want the spawning pool to go down for obvious reasons. And unfortunately, my spine crawler actually doesn't reach my opponent's Zerglings, nor does it reach his spine crawler. And I was a little bit peed off about that. So I do have to reposition my crawler, move it forward a little bit, which is exactly what I'm doing. And in order to protect the crawler, I will actually pull all my drones and all my Zerglings here, because I need to. Maybe I don't need to pull my drones, actually. I think just my spine crawler should be fine. Nope, I will have to pull my drones. So here comes the drones. I have to defend against this for obvious reasons. I can't lose the spine crawler, but it looks like the spine crawler does indeed go down. So now I have to take out the opponent's spine crawler. If that crawler remains alive, then I'm gonna lose a ton of drones. But it looks like I was able to take it out, and pretty minimum drone casualties here. I don't think I lost too many drones, maybe 2 or 3. And it looks like now I've got a pretty sizable advantage, because remember, my opponent here went for this early pull, early gas. He pulled all of his he stopped all of his drones to pull all these Zerglings on me, and so he probably doesn't have the same amount of drone saturation I have, even though he did kill a couple. So right now I'm feeling pretty good. It looks like there's a ton more Zerglings coming through here, and this is when I realized, wow, he is really going all in, shove it down my throat. So I'm gonna have to once again fall back into a defensive position, rebuild my spine crawlers, and try to weather out this storm and hold out here. But this is gonna be very, very tough. Looks like he's gonna go straight for my spawning pool, which is actually really smart. Kill the spawning pool. I can't build any more Zerglings, right? So he picks off the pool, runs away from the broodlings that pop out, Very, very smart play thus far. And obviously this is a pretty bad situation now. My early advantage has kind of been thrown away. I'm going to go ahead and cancel a Spine Crawler though, because I realized, you know, I've got plenty of Zerglings out. I already have one Crawler down. I don't really need to. And I'm going to obviously have to rebuild my spawning pool. So I'm repositioning all my buildings, all of my units to defend in case another Zergling attack comes in. My Spine Crawler should be able to defend my Roach Warren, my new spawning pool, and all my drones pretty easily. And here's when you want to actually make a counterattack. I'm going to go ahead and move my Zerglings across the map just to go and discover and find out what he's doing. And the reason why I'm going for this counterattack now is because I'm betting that my opponent thinks he's comfortable now. He just killed my spawning pool. He's probably fallen back. He's probably droning up. But lo and behold, I'm going to come and counter with a flood of Zerglings. And this is where I can go ahead and whittle down his drone count and retake the advantage in this game. So here we go. Going to take out a couple of drones, maybe two or three there. And that was definitely well worth it. So I just killed off a ton of his drones. And this is all just back and forth action. This is just basic StarCraft strategy. Very elementary, just knowing when to attack, knowing when to defend. And a large key of that is obviously scouting. You have your overlords in the center of the map. You can see what kind of units are coming out of your opponent's main, and you can react accordingly. So now I am transitioning into the standard Roach. This is pretty much the unit that is the staple of both Zerg versus Protoss and Zerg versus Zerg. And it looks like right now I'm just gonna go ahead and contain the ramp right here. I just want to play it safe for now in case my opponent's gonna try to all-in rush me again with Zerglings. A Roach wall that is using hold position. All you have to do is just select all the Roaches and then hit H. We'll make sure that no Zerglings can run in and make sure that I'm safe. But now it looks like I am going to go ahead and push out just to test the waters a little bit. And if my opponent does run out with a ton of Zerglings and go straight for my main, well, then it's pretty much going to have to be a base race. There's no point in falling back. It looks like, though, he has Roaches of his own, so he's definitely not a bad player. Up until this point, I was kind of like, oh yeah, you went and try to cheese me, you must not be very good, blah, 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 but he's actually pretty decent. He was able to transition. He's got Roaches out right now, about a pretty similar amount to mine, so there's really nothing I can do here but just kind of apply pressure, and put him on the back foot. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, just split my Roaches a little bit, get some good concave, and go in and poke a little bit here or there. But eventually, I'm going to have to fall back because he does have, I think, 1 or 2 more Roaches than I do. And as you guys can see, during my pressure, during my attack, even though I didn't do any damage, I throw down my hatchery. So this is all just basic stuff. You attack when you're expanding. And as you guys can see, my expansion now plopping down at the front door. It looks like my poor Overlord here is going to die to the Queen, but that's okay. Sacrifice a little bit, a couple of Overlords here or there. If your opponent really wants to kill it, then they'll usually bring a Queen out and take it down, which does kind of leave the Queen vulnerable, but it's not a big deal. 100 minerals isn't too big of a loss. So the Overlord there goes down. My Roaches were coming over there to defend, but unfortunately, the Overlord already died. But realize right now, I have the advantage because I have a hatchery. My natural expansion obviously about to plop out. And that's huge in Zerg versus Zerg. Having that extra expansion, having the extra economy really, really makes a large difference. And all I have to do now is defend. My opponent, his best strategy right now, because he's behind, he doesn't have a hatchery, his only viable remaining strategy is to go all in on me, is to shove with all of his Roaches and try to take me out. So realizing that you have the early expansion, knowing that you have the lead here, you have to throw defensive Spine Crawlers up because you have to expect the imminent attack of Roaches. And as you guys can see, with my Overlords positioned around the perimeter of my opponent's base, I can see he has actually got a pretty large number. He's got a couple more than I do. So as long as I can hold off with my Spine Crawlers, I should be in a pretty good position in this game. It looks like here comes his inevitable all-in attack, and all the Roaches are coming on the way right now. So what you want to do is make sure you have your Roaches well spread out, you have them in front of the Spine Crawlers to protect them, and you get ready for the engagement. So here we go. It looks like he is going to go ahead and engage, and thankfully my Spine Crawler is popping out just in time, and hit the menu button by accident there. It looks like I am going to have to actually fall back a little bit because when I hit the menu button, my Roaches just kind of scooted forward and didn't attack. So that was a little bit of a blunder there. You can actually avoid that by going to the menu and turning off the option to click the tabs at the top, which I always forget to do. So that kind of messed me up. I actually lost like 4 or 5 roaches by doing that. So I'm going to have to rebuild my roach army right here and try to just hold off, wait for more roaches to come, and obviously just don't allow my opponent to slide on by into my main base. That would be the absolute worst thing you could do, is allowing him to get into your main. But it looks like right here I've got pretty much the same number of roaches as he does, but I also have spine crawlers in the back that are burrowing down, and my opponent will actually have to fall back after that engagement. He just doesn't have the same amount of production as I do, nor does he have the same amount of defense that I do in terms of spine crawlers. I've got spine crawlers here. He doesn't have anything like that on my turf, and so he's going to go ahead and have to back off, get off my creep, and go back home. And meanwhile, back at the main base, always working on that macro. This time, focusing on getting the roach speed upgrade, which I think I clicked. No, I just used my gas on the Overseer, which isn't a bad idea either. Obviously, Overseers to fall in there and figure out what my opponent is building, see what kind of structures are going up, dropping changelings, and more recently, using the ability to contaminate, something that I actually don't do all too often. The Overseer's Contaminate ability is very, very good in Zerg versus Zerg, and the reason for that is because you can contaminate a hatchery, preventing it from producing any additional larvae, and if you hit Contaminate while the Inject Larva spell is on, it actually cancels the Inject Larva spell, so it's a huge benefit that I've been using a lot more in ZVZ. And so I'm going to go ahead and just bring this Overseer in here and just kind of chill it and hide it in the back, make a second Overseer. I thought I was about to make a second Overseer, but I guess I don't have the gas quite yet. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that Overseer in the back. I'm going to bring it in to Contaminate later on, and all that really does help, especially like I said, if you hit Contaminate while the Inject Larva is on, it's brutal. It's a rough spot for a Zerg player to be in. So right now I've got a very good army. I've got obviously my naturals fully saturated. I do have my second Overseer on the way, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in my little buddy to drop the Contaminate on the hatchery. Unfortunately, there wasn't an Inject Larva on there, so my opponent actually misses his Inject Larva, which is kind of his fault in the first place to forget about doing that. But I am going to go ahead and get my third as my opponent was getting his second. So as you guys can see, I do have that economic advantage that is always so important and so key in StarCraft, to have more economy than your opponent does. I also have my upgrades churning away the melee, not the melee, roaches don't have a melee attack, the missile and the carapace. Actually, scratch that, roaches do have a melee attack if they're right next to a unit, as do hydras, but they actually do count as a missile attack. So missile and carapace currently on the way right now, and it looks like my Overseer found its way somehow in the main, which is not where it wants to be. But hello, can drop a Contaminate right there. No more spawn larva for you, and actually that was the second Overseer that was kind of wandering around by itself. But at this point, really, you know that you're ahead. You're just basically waiting for that inevitable push to end the game. Also getting the Hydralisk Den out so that you can get the nice Hydra Roach composition, which really does kind of own GG is what the Roach Hydra combination is in general. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait for a couple of Hydras to come out before I push forward and end this game. It looks like right now, yeah, getting the Hydralisk Den upgrade for the improved Hydra range, but here we go. My Roach is pushing forward. I think I've got a larger Roach army than my opponent, and it doesn't really matter now because I've pretty much committed myself to this attack. I do have more Roaches than my opponent, so that is probably going to be GG. I don't see how my opponent can possibly outproduce me at this point, because I've got the third base up and running. Keep in mind, my opponent just barely got his second natural up, and that Overlord Contaminate spell also coming in handy as well, preventing my opponent from having larva, which is obviously the basis. It's the primary unit, the basic building block for all forms of life in the Zerg army. So you need the larva, obviously, and by using Contaminate, that really hurts your opponent. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see more Zerg players in the future start to use like 4 or 5 Overseers and just drop Contaminate bombs all over the map. That's something that I've actually been thinking about doing in the future, is maybe just investing a ton of gas into Overseers and dropping Contaminate in all matchups, not just ZVZ. So that was a pretty interesting matchup. It was a Zerg versus Zerg on Steps of War. Started off with some very early aggression, and it was a lot of back and forth, basically showing how to kind of defend against early cheese, as well as kind of how to, know when to attack, when to defend, and things like that. So this guy was actually in Diamond, but he was rank 1 in Diamond at 3,000 something points. So obviously very close to Masters. And that's going to be it. That's the second daily ladder of this week, the fourth daily ladder, excuse me. And we are going to have a pro game coming out tonight and more on tomorrow as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that broadcast. This is HD signing out from you guys, and we'll see you guys next time.